Predictably, Judge Emmett Sullivan has for the moment turned down the dismissal of the Bill Barr Department of Justice of the indictment and plea of General Michael Flynn. Regrettably, this was totally predictable for several reasons. Number one, the judge previously had in effect called Flynn a traitor. Number two, Sidney Powell, who did an excellent job at uncovering the truth that in fact there was a nefarious plot against General Flynn to get to the president, Donald Trump, both in the intel community and in other parts of the deep state. She made a mistake by going on Sean Hannity, by going on Fox News, by grandstanding it. I know Judge Sullivan very, very well. She basically rubbed his face in it because the problem is that a federal judge who has already accepted a plea, was about ready to sentence General Flynn, has stuck his neck out on the line. A judge has independent authority. But let's not forget as well that Judge Emmett Sullivan is an appointee of Bill Clinton. Let's not forget that he's a Democrat. Let's not forget that he has to answer to his benefactors. And although he's probably the best Democrat on that federal bench in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, he himself, of course, has his biases and prejudices. Now, this is also a lesson for people not to take a plea agreement if you think you're not guilty. I mean, that is something that unfortunately General Flynn has to accept, but he was led down the primrose path by the law firm of Covington and Burling, which is the law firm, not coincidentally, of former Clinton Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General Eric Holder and Obama Attorney General Eric Holder, as well as the head of the criminal division of the Department of Justice under Obama, Lanny Brewer. He had hired this character by the name of Joseph Kellner. Kellner was not qualified really to represent Flynn. He's a Federal Election Commission lawyer primarily, and also he deals with registrations for the Foreign Agents Registration Act. He's not really a criminal defense lawyer, but that's a very Democrat firm. And they sold Flynn down the river. I've dealt with Covington and Burling before. In my view, it's a corrupt law firm. It's Democrat-oriented. These are the swirling forces of the swamp in Washington, D.C., and now it's coming back to haunt the general. Now, I have one piece of advice for him. Stay off of Hannity. Stay off of Fox News. Your lawyer, Sidney Powell, did a very good job. She's a very good lawyer, but don't grandstand it right now. Let this thing run its course, and you'll see what Judge Emmett Sullivan does. Probably in the end, he will dismiss it, but right now he's, in effect, torturing Flynn and the people around him because he's had this pushed in his face by Sean Hannity and company. And that's just a reality, okay? I don't care for Hannity. I think he's a hypocrite. I don't think he's honest. But in this particular instance, even if he may be right that Flynn deserves a dismissal, his grandstanding every night does not help. And he says the same thing every night. There's nothing new. So he should basically just shut up now and go back to his cave where he belongs. That's my advice for that. But it's also important because the president's obviously waiting this whole thing out to see what happens with Flynn before he considers whether to give General Flynn a pardon. Now, if he gives General Flynn a pardon, he will still have it on his record that he pled guilty to a criminal offense. That's not good for the future. It's not good for his ability to be employed in the defense industry or wherever else he needs to go to make a living. He's lost a lot of money. And this tells you he's been bankrupted. This tells you why it was so wise of my client, Dr. Jerome Corsi, not to do the same thing, not to be bludgeoned into a plea agreement to try to implicate the president in Russian collusion and related crimes. Jerry said, I can't do that in front of my creator. I did nothing wrong. I'm not going to plea. And Jerry stood his ground. And General Flynn buckled, in part due to bad advice from his lawyers. Anyway, that's the moral to the story. The other moral to the story is that we, the American people, and you yourself need to stand up for your own rights. Taking the advice of lawyers sometimes is not the best thing to do. You have to do what you believe in your heart is right. And what we're doing at Freedom Watch is holding the communist Chinese accountable for the huge damage that has caused health-wise and also in terms of the economy, people losing their jobs, people losing their businesses, our class action. So go to freedomwatchusa.org, sign up to see if you qualify to be a plaintiff, contribute with tax-deductible contributions. This is expensive. and also support our criminal case in The Hague, Holland, against the Chinese communist leadership. They should be thrown in prison and put in jail where the sun don't shine. And also our case in Jerusalem, Israel. We'll be filing more cases around the world and around the country within the next month or so. So I want you to spread this podcast, get it out far and wide. If I do say so myself, there are very few people, if any, who understand Washington as well as I do. It's important that you get this out. I don't think you're going to hear what I have to say from a lot of different sources today. I'm telling the truth, and that needs to be sent out because our justice system is broken, and in many respects, it's corrupt. I don't believe that Judge Sullivan is corrupt to the extent that anybody else is, but he is who he is. He's a Clinton appointee, and by continuing to poke, Sean Hannity could get General Flynn a prison sentence. So that's my message for today. And I'll be back tomorrow with another special podcast, a special prosecutor with Larry Klayman. Until then, stay safe. You can share this podcast. You can find it on iTunes, on Spotify, on Roku, on Amazon Fire, on Facebook, on Twitter, and at freedomwatchusa.org. Go to our site, join our Justice League. Be proactive, do something. Just don't be entertained by the likes of Sean Hannity and Fox News. God bless you. God bless your family. Stay safe. God bless me and my family. And God save America. We need God these days. Thank you for listening to me.